Appreciate you hanging out with us today, Marcos. Coming down early.
Yeah, man, it's not that early. For me, I mean, coming to the store, yes,
It's,
but
it's early for musicians to get to work, man. Getting
that's
here
true.
early in the day, man. But I sure do appreciate you coming in. So, as you probably know from us just chatting around the store, the name of this podcast is Getting in Tune. I
Mm,
think that's a cool little thread to weave it in with some music stuff, but not really just about music. Really, just to getting to know some of the folks, that the interesting folks that come in the store. You being one of them,
right.
one of the biggest ones, right? So, I like to start with everybody just kind of figuring out how'd you get into music in general. Like, is that something your family did? Is it something that you just fell into on your own, or what's the story behind that?
Well, the story is my dad is a musician,
Mm-hmm.
still an active musician, and he started as a minstrel and he plays music. So that's how I got into it. He bought my first accordion,
Mm-hmm.
so I always felt like I had music in me. I just didn't know how to express it and stuff like that. So I think music found me. So that's how I got into it.
Right.
Yeah.
So for everybody that don't know, Marcos is an instructor here at Donleys Music, and you do a lot of other stuff too. You play at your churches, you do a lot of other stuff like that, right? So
Yeah.
how long have you been teaching music in a formal setting, something like this?
Um, 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a good long time for a young
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
How old are you, Marcos?
32.
32 years
Yeah.
old. We're getting old, ain't we? But you
Yeah.
look good, man. No gray and that pretty hair you got. So, if you had to describe to somebody what kind of music it is that you play, or your interest, where most
Yeah.
of your inspiration comes from, as far as a
Mm,
genre, if you had to put it together, what would you explain? Because I know you play lots of different types of music.
right. Well, I always say that there's like my personal type of music and then the music that I have to play for work or church and stuff like that. But my personal taste is like what I love in my own time and practice and listen. It's just like jazz music and
Mhm.
gospel. I really like that kind of music because my mind is like it's always spinning. So I feel like that hunger that I have for music, I feel like, and a lot of people like jazz because they flex. I don't like jazz because I flex. I just like it because I feel like I can express myself in different way and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So that's why I like jazz.
Jazz does seem, when you say flex, you mean it's kind of a show off
Yeah,
kind of attitude a lot of jazz
yeah,
musicians have, because it's a very high level of improvisation
yeah,
and knowledge and
yeah,
skill. It's very technical type of music, so it takes a lot of studying to be able to play to that level. And I've seen a lot of folks in that classically trained world, if you will, theory
yeah.
based stuff. They kind of want to look down their nose at the folks that can't,
Right,
don't know all the particulars of theory, even though we're all doing the same thing.
right,
You know,
right.
it's just we're going all about it a different way. We're all trying to get to the same point, but everybody's taking a different route to get there. So you've never give that vibe off, which is cool, you know. And all the other jazz guys we got here is like Greg,
Yeah,
he's not that way. Justin, he's
yeah,
got some jazz backgrounds
yeah.
here at the store. We're gonna have both of those guys on at some point, I'm sure. But so jazz is kind of your background that you started on. You said your first instrument was accordion. You
Yeah,
said
accordion, yeah.
okay.
It's not the first one, but what I would say is that all the music is very, very related.
Hmm.
They're connected some way, like we spoke the other day. They're very related, especially Latin music. But when I started on it, all the stuff that I started speaking as a baby develops. Like I played basically all the Latin music you can think of and
Sure.
stuff like
Well,
that.
we'll talk a little bit about that because most people like myself are ignorant to Latin music. So you are from
Guatemala.
Guatemala, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the Latin music, obviously, that makes sense. You just call it music back home, right?
Yeah, they
It's
all kind of have like names too, and it's kind of like the gospel. They come out of inspirations of other music and stuff.
mhm,
Like it's like our own take. Like I was telling you the other day, it's like our own take on certain other styles of music and such.
sure. So what would you call? So talk about some of those subgenres of Latin music.
Yeah,
Because in my world, in the kind of the bluegrass roots music world, you have lots of subgenres. You've got it was all inspired by gospel, blues, Irish Celtic music, the settlers that came over, what they call a lot of Appalachian music, involved into more bluegrass, brother duet type stuff. So I imagine there's a lot of subgenres like that to your music, right?
yeah.
So what
It
would you call some of those things?
Well, a lot of it in the very beginning, not to go too far back, but in the beginning, a lot of it had to do with the style of music of each country. So from my country, Guatemala, the main music, the face, as I guess you can say, the face of our country is the marimba.
Okay.
I think you're familiar with the marimba.
Yeah, it's a percussion based instrument, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that. So each country kind of has their own thing, but in Latin America, the main instruments category is like wind instruments and string instruments.
Okay.
So that's that. But then if you go into that, like there's so many different styles and stuff like that. But the way I like to see it is just like a form of expression, how you can express it and stuff like that. So I don't really go into like all the other ones, just like the familiar ones or the ones I like. It's like a chef. I try to see myself like a chef. It's like, what elements do I like from this that I can add to my repertoire?
So you view the different elements as ingredients,
yeah,
more or less the way a chef. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're talking about your expression is the way that you're putting your musical relationship into terms. Something I've learned. I was thinking about it on the way in. I've been working and hanging around a music store for a job for probably around 15 years, plus or minus a little bit, for a pretty good while, because we're getting old, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned and you'll hear me say this in all the different podcasts, probably to most people, I've learned the number one thing I've learned is that most people have a different relationship with music and they don't realize that they do. Some people view it as a form of expression or communicating things that necessarily words can't really do. And everybody has their own way of doing that and their own avenues of going about that. Some people view it as just a hobby, just for fun. Yeah. Few chords, sing a song around the campfire. That's all they want out of it, just to have fun. Some people view it, and this is more the way that I did it, kind of view it as a puzzle that you're trying to put together. Like, here's the picture. This is the finished picture. What are all these little pieces? How do I do this? How do I make this sound like this? This will work, but this works better. So that's kind of all the way that I've always kind of approached it. There's a lot of people like that too. But what's interesting to me is that most people want you to share their relationship with music. And I've noticed that it's not necessarily people that do it at a higher level, like yourself and all the instructors and people that play out. They've kind of found their avenue and they understand that everybody's a little different and their relationship with it. But the general public and, that walks in the store wanting to talk about so-and-so and so-and-so, I have no idea who they're talking about most of the time, and it's your more mainstream type stuff in the rock world, which I don't know a whole lot about other than what I've had to teach through the years. But what is it about human nature that I want you to share my point of view and my relationship with music? What do you think that is?
Well, like for me, like I really have like kind of a different take on it. As time goes by, you mature, and
Sure.
and I think music draw me in, but what I figured out, which is that I was more passionate about music than God. So when that happened, I wanted to switch my attention and focus my priorities and make sure that God was before music. So when that changed for me, then I figured out, well, I still want to play music. It's not that I'm saying, oh, this music is not good, and I just move on and view it as something evil. It's how you view things. It's where you put things in your life and stuff like that.
Sure.
So the two reasons that I like to share my knowledge or like to share what I do is, one, for myself, is to keep an active mind. So I'm always learning, like to keep an active mind, because according to scientists, it's very healthy for you too, especially the left side of your brain. Sure. So that's why I love doing it. And then number two, I just like using it as a tool to express myself to God and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll get more to that in a second, but you were talking about working the left side of your brain.
Yeah.
That's the creative side, right?
Yeah.
And the right side is your more logic-based side. I think it's interesting because music can work both sides very much. I'm not an artistic type fellow, I'm not one of the free-spirited, hippy-dippy type of guys that play music.
I'm kind of that.
I'm a little bit more, here's the rules and this is what we do and this is the way we do it, even though there's creativity into that.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I'm not very good at it. It's because the creativity point is always something I've always struggled with. But I've also struggled with, the learning something and replicating it and reciting it the way that it was written or recorded. I just kind of do my own thing, which I guess in itself is the point, right?
Right.
Is I think we all kind of we all have a voice,
Yes.
and some people's instrument is their literal voice that they sing with, and everybody can sing. It's just some people don't sound so good. And I think it's the same thing on instruments. I think anybody can learn how to play to a certain level. I think there's different thresholds for people, and I think everybody has a voice if you can get there. There's a lot of folks that just want to play things note for note the way it was on an album or on a record or the way it was written. And there's a certain discipline that goes with that, and I think that's a good thing. But is it really creating anything that's new or fresh or worth hearing? Why would I want to hear somebody else's point of view on that song? I kind of want to hear yours. That's what always been more interesting to me, is to hear somebody's expression of their interpretation of a song, something like that. So I imagine you do a lot of that type of stuff too.
Well, yeah, like what you're saying there, like it's crazy that on the same point that you're talking about, you see so many people that are replicating, for example, like Jimi Hendrix. There's so many people that are sounding like him, like
or trying to sound like him,
right? And a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is the closest guy that sounds like him." But do we really want another Jimi Hendrix? I mean, we already heard that sound, you know, and it's good to see the artistic side of that and see what's in that. But I think, like you were saying, I think the whole purpose of music is to express myself. And one of my favorite quotes on that same topic is Joe Bonamassa said to this guy, he said, "Well, dude, you can pretty much play anything, man. But what are you saying?"
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the message, and that's what I'm trying to find my voice. I do think I have a voice, and I know I have a voice, and I have a rough idea of what it is, but I'm still like molding it. You know, I'm still adding things to it and doing such stuff like that.
That's cool, man. There's a lot of meaning behind that too. What are you saying, right? To me, and I think jazz and bluegrass, the worlds are more similar than they're not. It's very improvisational based. And there's a lot of standards. There's a lot of jazz standards. And in our world, there's a lot of bluegrass standards. And that's the thread that allows the community. I can go anywhere in the country to a bluegrass type gathering, and I can play with anybody because we have common ground.
What is like the number one bluegrass song?
Oh, I don't know that there is one. I guess it depends on who you ask, you know. But if you go back to like the founding fathers of bluegrass, your Bill Monroes, your Stanley Brothers, Flatt and Scruggs, those guys, all those first generation is what we call them, bluegrass bands and artists. They all those songs are songs that everybody learned from. Second generation, they learned from those, and then we learned from them, and we just kept on. But all those songs are your standard songs that everybody knows. And if you go to a jam like we do, you know, about once a week, we get together with my buddies, and the fellowship and the community of that is really what I like the best. Hanging out with your buddies and having a good time, and trying to play better than you did last week. You know, that's always been the goal. But I think it's interesting because it's very improvisational based type music, jazz and the bluegrass stuff too, because I've never played anything the same way twice, I don't think. And that's probably true for you too. If you're playing, I call it from playing from within yourself. That sounds kind of artsy fartsy, right? But if you're just, if you're playing a song that you've played 100 times, you've probably not played it the exact same way. You'll play it 100 different ways, right? And I think that's that voice coming out. It's there's a lot of variables there based on what you just played, what's on the top of your mind, you know, what you've been working on lately. All those things can come out in something that you're playing. And I think that's cool. It's the evolution. Even though I might have played the same song 1,000 times, I might have played it 800 different ways in those 1,000 times, you know, just based on, and I imagine in your world, it's that way too. So, and I'm unfamiliar with the jazz community in the area. Is there gatherings of jazz musicians getting together and what we call jamming or playing together and just hanging out?
There is. It's right here. It's more like in a formal settings. The place that I go usually when I go to music stores and trying to find people. There are local places, but sometimes I prefer going up there more like in Nashville. Okay. Because they have like I can't remember any of it at the top of my head right now, but there's like a lot of open jams down there. And I really love it down there because it's not too close. And sometimes you got people on stage that play jazz and blues or very similar crossovers, what I would say. And we just, like you were saying earlier, we just enjoy each other. another way that I like to see that improvisation point you're talking about is like it's a conversation.
Sure.
So like we're doing right now, I'm not like talking over you and you're not talking over me, and I'm listening to what you have to say.
Yeah, try not to.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting thing, because I think that's how God made us, to converse and to have communion. And so that's a wonderful place to look at it. But yeah.
You tired of spending your money with these corporate chains that don't share the same values that you do? Well, at Freedom Cafe in Macedonia, Georgia, they stand for faith, family, and freedom. It's not just a motto, it's their way of life. And you can taste it in everything that they serve. From acai bowls packed with fresh fruit and flavor, to clean energy teas that keep you going without the crash, to handcrafted bubble teas, protein shakes, matcha lattes, and iced coffee, this place really has it all. It's the perfect stop for folks who want to feel good about what they're drinking and who they're supporting. No questionable agendas, no corporate nonsense, just better ingredients, better people, and better values. So go ahead, save your bucks and still drink like a star. Don't give in to the green logo chains pushing their woke politics. Support a place that shares the same values and beliefs as you. Be subscribed to the Donleys Music YouTube channel and get $1 off any order $10 or more. Follow Freedom Cafe on Instagram and Facebook at freedomcafe_ to see what's new, what's fresh, and what's brewing. Freedom Cafe, faith, family, and freedom. A better way to fuel your day.
There's not one of my dreams, which I've been close to it, but one of my dreams is to play in a big band.
In a big band, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's basically like an orchestra, but in a form of jazz.
Okay.
But everything has to be just right, because you have so many people like playing,
Sure.
that the mix, everything has to be right for it to sound nice and stuff like that.
That's the complete opposite than what we enjoy in bluegrass. I only want about 5 people to play with, because every instrument in our world has a role to play. And if everybody's not doing their job properly, it doesn't work. It doesn't work well. And there's not really any extra room. You don't need but one banjo player, I promise. I promise you don't need but one. And there's very few people that can make that kind of thing work.
Everybody can solo and take a solo, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's and it's an individual basis, and it's also a song by song basis too. Not every song needs a banjo lead or a guitar lead or a fiddle or a mandolin or whatever the case is. So, but in a jam setting, yeah, it's for fun. You go around, let everybody have we call them breaks, an instrumental break instead of a solo most of the time. But yeah, it's one of those things where in a jam setting, yeah, everybody's going to have a good time. Let everybody have a chance to play. And it's understood that I might miss this completely, because it's not like we have a set list we're working off of. It's just whatever comes to mind that somebody knows how to play or sing, But if you're in a kind of a band setting, if you're working up material, you kind of got to have the maturity to know that we need to leave this off of that song. We need to, this don't need that. It's getting a little too long. Maybe we need to split this break up over 2 instruments, or, this song doesn't lend itself to that banjo sound or whatever the case may be. So, and I'm picking on banjo players, me trying to be one most of my life, but that tends to be the one that don't suit most all the material as well, especially some of your softer stuff. A lot of your prettier gospel music. And you talk a lot about you play at your church primarily. I guess that's most of your playing, right? Most of your work. So we'll talk about that a little bit. You are, and I mean this is the greatest compliment you can give somebody, you're one of the most decent, godly men I've ever met. And I mean that too. I appreciate the way you go about your life. You're just a good dude, man. I enjoy being around you. And there's a lot of people that we got a good group of people around here, I think. Everybody gets along, and you know what I know, and what a lot of folks that hang around here know. And you believe the same thing I believe. You believe that Jesus died on the cross, his blood covered our sins, and through that we have salvation, right? Yes. And I appreciate that about you, and you're not shy about telling folks. And in a lot of ways, I wish I could be more like you in that aspect, because that's something we should all probably do a little bit more of, I think, being believers, and I appreciate what you do. But so you use your music as a form of worship, right? So talk a little bit about your church setting and the folks you play with, and how that might be different than your jazz
Oh yeah,
click, if you will.
it's almost opposite. It's almost because obviously when you play music for church, it's 100% all by him,
Sure.
and you just kind of use your brushes, what I call it, use your brushes and see how can I paint this painting without outshining Jesus, because you don't, it's not a competition, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the center of attention.
Sure.
And so I play in a setting of 12 people.
Okay.
We got wind
And
instruments.
that's a big band, man.
They're not as big as the big band, but yeah. But basically all 11 of them, 12 with me, all 11 of them basically, I taught all of them except two of them.
Okay.
So a lot of them, most of them are teens and some are adults and stuff like that. So it's, I guess we can call it the second or third. We have two recordings.
Okay.
We got stuff on YouTube too. We got
Do
two.
you?
Yeah, we got two recordings, but it doesn't really define the new generation. Those recordings we have with under our name, it's like older. It's not, doesn't have one instrument, so it doesn't really define our present and where we want to go with our identity.
Right. And
But
talking about your name, what is that? How do we find all that stuff on YouTube? You can tell folks, and we'll put it up on the screen. How do
Yeah.
we find all your worship music?
yeah, it's called Guiadores del Evangelio. Basically, the guidance of the gospel. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's just kind of taking inspiration from the Holy Spirit. It says that the Holy Spirit will guide you through all truth. So we're just saying, okay, through our worship, if we let the Holy Spirit guide us, then we can guide people to the gospel, but not literally us, the Holy Spirit through us.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what we basically do at church. But I was saying the difference in that setting that you were asking between jazz. I think sometimes I do add some stuff in there that I do like, but I just try to see what adds to it, what supports the song.
You never want to take away from what it's about, right?
Right. And like, it's not a moment of shining. It's not a moment of stuff like that. But there's a lot of definitely exercises, lines. There's a lot of feels. There's a lot of stuff that I do. And I try to do this. This is what I tell all my students. I try to make sure that everything I do in a song has a purpose.
Absolutely.
And not just like fills out this gap, or oh, I like this line, or there's this lick, or there's this line that this guy did and I like it. Da, da, da. So even with music theory, all of that has like each chord, that has emotions. You're saying stuff through that. So those are the kind of stuff that I like to study. So that my message so that my music, my chords are actually supporting, saying the same message of the lyrics. So that's
very
really
cool, man.
Yeah.
So you're just singing the song with your instrument, right? Singing, expressing yourself with your instrument the same way that the lyricists are with their vocals.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Same kind of thing. In our world, gospel music's a lot of our standard songs too, and it just kind of goes hand in hand. And that's, to me, I put everything under, and the appreciation that I have for the music. I'm not a big blues guy or nothing like that, but it is a form of what we call roots music. It's where everything started here in America, at least. I can't speak for other countries. That the blues, the gospel, the Irish Celtic stuff, it's all root music.
Yeah.
And it's an honest, pure form of music. It's a lot of times it's very simplistic musically, 2 or 3 chords at the most. Sometimes you might have 4 and you're getting crazy. You got 4 whole chords in there. But it's a stripped down, honest version of that. And I think without knowing it, people have a hunger for the simplicity.
Yeah.
Because you can make the music as complicated as you want to, but especially in pertaining to gospel music, like Bruce, one of my preacher buddy, says, there's only one message to preach in the whole book, and that's cross Calvary. That's it. So you can present that message in 1,000 different ways, the same way you can with music, I imagine. But the simplicity of that, everybody can understand.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I appreciate there's an art to simplicity. There's an art to sharing the message with other people in conversation that won't turn them off. It's simple, but there's an art to playing the music as well. There's an art to the simplicity of, well, there's only 3 chords and a pretty basic melody. Yeah, but listen to what's being said with it,
Right. Yeah.
and how you present that. And there's definitely an art to presenting that, I think.
Yeah.
And it's something that comes with some maturity and practice too, just like
Yeah.
anything else, I think.
I tell a lot of people that as soon as my members found out that this was like 7 years ago, that I was learning jazz and I was taking it, it's like they'd be like, why don't you ever do none of that stuff here? Because they know that a lot of gospel, like gospel guys, they do a lot of those things. So why don't you do a lot of it here? And I told them the thing with the power of knowing things, having more knowledge doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna pour everything I know into a song. That's the mature side
Yes,
of
sir.
it.
The maturity is knowing what not to play. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Probably. The more you know doesn't mean the more that, just because you can do it don't mean you should. And I think that's the maturity side of not only just playing music, but talking to people too about stuff like that. Just because you know a lot doesn't mean you have to tell them everything you know all at once.
Yeah.
It's like drinking from a fire hose. They're not gonna get it all, So I'm a fan of the simple things personally. I'm a very simple-minded hillbilly, as we talk about. So, but talking about the instruments you play a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Can you make a list of all the instruments that you feel proficient enough to call yourself a player of?
That's how I kind of categorize it. The other ones, I just say I can channel my thoughts through the rest. But the other ones that I do, and these that I'm going to mention, these are really the foundation and where I started off with, and what I continued. You still go back to them and can be fluid and can be, it's like speaking a language and can be fluid, without have to thinking, where's that chord, where's that thing. So I started off I started with bass. That was my first instrument. Real quick, that was funny though. The first time I played, I was young. I was like 11. My brother was trying to teach me, so instead of me playing the bass, it just hit me in the head, and I was like super mad. I dropped it, and it hit me right here in the head. I was like, "Oh man, this!" It thing
probably stunted your growth too.
Yeah, I was like, this thing is too heavy. Da da da. But I was like, this is really simple. All you're doing is this. That's what I thought. And then it was like, and then transfer to drums and all the percussion instrument, but basically the ones that I could say I'm fluent in: bass, drums, guitar, piano, sax, and trumpet. Those are the few that I could say.
Is that all? Just
those? I could play way more instruments,
sure.
but those are the ones that if somebody says, hey, we got 2 weeks,
right,
can you come play? Then I would have to say, oh my gosh, my chops, I gotta do this and gotta practice. I can just pick them and say, yeah, right. You know what I mean. But like I said, there's many other instruments that I play, but I'm always like studying those, and I always try to study it in a smart way, because a lot of people now these days, with more access to information, that's another thing. With so much access to you can be misinformed, so that's
easily, yes,
right. So that's some of my favorite music and favorite teachers or older people, and some of my, like for example, like my saxophone teacher, like he passed away, so he I studied with one of his students, so a lot of the stuff that I know, it's really was from the beginning, the founding fathers, I guess you can say. I love studying from those, because sometimes someone tries to help you to understand something, but I can say that sometimes when they try to over explain, oversimplify, sometimes you can go to a different, completely different route,
Yeah, there's no substitution for experience.
Yeah.
Attention local musicians. If you're looking for a place to share your music, test out a new song, or just hang out with some cool folks, you need to check out Open Mic Night at Reformation Brewery in Canton. It takes place the fourth Wednesday of every month, and it's hosted by our buddy Kurt Wheeler. You'll get a 10-minute slot to share your original music, cover your favorite song, or play your favorite instrumental. Whether you're a veteran to the stage or looking to just get your feet wet for the very first time, this is the place to do it. It's free to sign up, and all skill sets and ages are welcome. The lineup fills up fast, so don't wait around. Get signed up today. Get signed up at reformationbrewery.com/openmic. That's reformationbrewery.com/OPENMIC. And wisdom that comes with just doing it for years and years, That's kind of the whole reason this whole deal we're trying to do here exists, because a few years back, um, I don't remember how long ago it was, but in our little bluegrass world, it seems like there was about a 2 or 3 month stretch where we lost a lot of folks, some of the older folks. I don't know.
Pioneers, you would say?
Oh, no, just friends and stuff that I grew up playing with.
Yeah.
In the bluegrass world, I'm still one of the younger people that do it. It's kind of what everybody calls grandpa's music, a lot of times. But everybody was a lot older than me, and there's still quite a few. I'm starting to getting into the older generation myself. But
you cover two generations, I believe, in terms of what I mean by that. It's like you started off early, so you have your peers, you have people
sure
around your time, and then you passing down kind of the torch.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit more probably. But there was this little stretch there where we lost a lot of my friends. I've told my wife I don't really have a lot of friends in and around my age. I do, but most of my friends I grew up playing music with, they were a lot older than me. If I was in my teens or early 20s, they were 50, 60, 70 years old, And we had a little stretch where it seemed like every week I heard about somebody else passing away, somebody else passed away. And I was telling Amy, I said, man, I really wish somebody would have sat down and got their story, because all that wisdom, and I've sat and talked with a lot of them and learned a lot, but I'm sure they had a lot more stories and things that they wish were heard.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish somebody would have sat down and talked to these people, because they were interesting people. Anybody that has an infatuation with holding a little piece of wood in their lap most of their life and trying to get good at it, they're interesting people to talk to.
Yeah.
And I said, I wish somebody would have got their story recorded somewhere, And then Dave passed away. And he was as big a part of the bluegrass world as anybody. He did a whole lot for the bluegrass community around here. I can't even measure how much he meant to that. And I said, dadgummit. And Amy said, well, don't you wish you would have been the one to have done that? And now I don't have that chance with Dave. So that was kind of the catalyst to getting this thing going, really.
Yeah.
Because Dave and his story, and I've heard it for most of my life, but I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that he didn't think to tell.
Yeah.
And
untold stories.
Sure. And that's kind of what this is about, So your story, you're not from here, right? No. You're not a native born American, right? You said you're from Guatemala.
Yeah.
So at what age did you come to America?
I came here when I was 10.
When you were 10, okay.
Yeah.
And that has to be an interesting story in itself, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you came here, you're a citizen, you've done everything, the way you're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
And you're a productive member of society, you pay your taxes and show up on time and all that stuff, and we appreciate that. But what is different culturally, other than everything, probably, from the way you were raised those first 10 years to where you've been since here, as far as your surroundings, the culture, if you will? Mm-hmm. What's different to you?
I mean, this is gonna sound a little contradictory, but when I was there, like, I felt like there was more, because we grew our own crops and such. So I feel like there was, and I don't mean this in politics or what's going on. I mean, like, I feel like there was more freedom. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't mean like politics, but I feel like there was, like, you could do a lot of things and go hunt. Well, you can still go hunting here, but I did a lot of hunting back there. So, but I think one of the main difference is probably the food. Right. And stuff and such like that.
Yeah, we don't really eat real food here. Most people don't. Right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about the freedom, personal independence.
That's the word.
It was kind of on each individual person and family and household to provide for themselves.
Own crops, own farm, own everything.
Sure.
And
yeah, and that's the way that myself and a lot of people were brought up to. I'm not as much, and a lot of people trying to get back to that. There's a big move in that direction, especially since the COVID thing I'm seeing. There's a lot of people moving to this area, and they're bringing less and less of that thought process with them. It seems like the more people that come, the more dependent people come upon grocery stores and restaurants and everybody, government and everything, for their needs instead of personal accountability. But look at the way people live now. You know, nobody has the land to grow a garden or
Mm.
raise animals or anything like that. And I think it's going to end up getting back to that before it's over with,
Mm.
because I think we'll have to. The people that are able to do what you were talking about, provide for themselves, grow their own food, you know, hunt their own food, that's an important skill that a lot of people don't have anymore, I'm noticing.
Yeah.
So I've seen the culture of this area especially change in my lifetime, because more and more people that talk like me and look like me and live the way that I've lived, they don't,
Yeah.
they, like I said, most of them's died or got pushed out of the area, you know.
But I also think that growing up in that setting kind of prepares you for the world.
I agree.
Because I started in the crop field and all that kind of stuff. I started when I was like 7.
Right.
So we did have we could play and all that stuff, but we have to do what we had to get done. You
Sure.
have to take the sheep out. You have to do crop and do that, all that kind of stuff. It's not a question. It's not a, do you want to do it? It's your duty.
You have to
living
do it.
under this household and stuff like that.
And I think there's a lot of lack of gratitude in the culture now, because people don't appreciate the work that it takes to have food. They don't appreciate where their food comes from. You know, one of my big sayings for a lot of folks, and I apologize if it's too graphic for TV here, but behind every hamburger, there is a gut pile somewhere. That animal had to die. Somebody had to do work.
Yeah.
A life was taken from an animal so that you could eat that burger. So you see this increase. Nothing drives me crazier than a picky eater. I don't like a picky eater, you know, because, and I'm not going to complain at all. There's a lot of people that had a lot of worse than I have. I didn't always have my preference of what to eat, you know, and everything growing up. Didn't have as many options as people do nowadays, it doesn't seem like. So I actually appreciate, and that's why I like to hunt so much. You know, the effort that I put in is directly correlated to the meal that I have on my table, you know. And my wife has grown to appreciate that a lot more too. And it's just better. It tastes better when you do all the work, you know. So, and you can definitely appreciate it more. There's nothing wasted from anything that I kill, you know, from a deer or anything like that.
That'd be a good subject too, a good something to talk about. But that definitely, that it's like, for me, I think a lot about the life of back in the Bible. You know, I think about a lot of that and remembering my childhood. Now that we're talking here and just having flashbacks, I'm like, well, life was probably similar, you know, back in that time. And it's kind of interesting in that time. And it's almost like the more things, material things we have, and I'm speaking kind of how some things or how some people approach their life. You know, I don't think it's an American problem. I think it's a mindset. You know what I mean? Because there's people in America, like you were saying, your lifestyle. I admire that. You know, your lifestyle. I do. I've told you that before. So I think that thinking that way and be your own person, you know, because there, you know, there's so many things on the news, there's so many things going on, and there's people waiting for a change in the government, you know, and such.
And you can only do what you can do with the government and all. Everybody's waiting on somebody else to fix the problem. And what we don't realize is, in my opinion, in my point of view, is I can't control all that any more than I can. I can go vote for who I feel like is going to be the best option, but just take care of your own house. Live the way that you want to live, you know? I feel like so many people are afraid to be different than everybody else now. We all have to almost conform to what the norms are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you drive down the road and look at all these new houses they're building, they all look exactly the same. You know, everybody has the same house. The shutters are a different color. You know, as long as the HOA says it's okay, you can use that color. And everybody's got a dog and a cat and a boy and a girl and 2 new cars in the driveway, and they do the same things. And it's just not for me, you know?
Is there any part of Georgia that you like the setting? I know you liked it here before. Like,
I mean, it's always been, and it's just crowded a lot now, and it bothers me. Yeah, there's a lot of parts that I still like the environment and all that kind of stuff, but the problem with it is we have a store here that a lot of people rely on for a living. I have to go farther away to get to that, you know, and it just doesn't make sense logistically
looking
to
at
do
the
so.
big picture.
But
what I notice is, like, for example, like because I go up there in LJ a lot.
Yeah.
And what I noticed specifically about the family down there, there's literally a lot of people moving from other states, like Florida. There's like other stuff, and they're literally moving to places like that, like LA, to get to get away and have that kind of countryside experience. But again, I don't even know. Even the people there, I talk to them. They say, "Well, we don't know how long it's gonna stay like this." So it's like you keep running from place to place. I mean, there's places like Kentucky, right? Like it's kind of more like super like old school.
Well, it's that way everywhere. It's the way people choose to live. So I can go 10 minutes down the road, and depending on who I'm around, the culture is different. So it's not really a geographical thing necessarily. I think there are certain areas of the state where people live more in that mindset that I share than they do around here necessarily. And it's different strokes for different folks. I'm not saying anybody's necessarily right or wrong for whatever,
Right. Yeah.
but I do see the conformity of, well, this is what you're supposed to do. This is it's what it feels like to
Everybody's
me.
doing.
And it's frowned upon, I guess, to upset the status quo, as they say. I just kind of do my own thing, and that can rub a lot of people the wrong way, but I live a real peaceful life. I try to live a quiet life, keep to myself, and do my job. And I got a wife at home. I love her dearly. And what else do you need,
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I like to live my life, just as simply as I can. And, there's so much chaos in the world. It seems like everybody's in such a hurry, and everybody's so
Chasing
stressed
something.
out, and anxiety is such an issue anymore. And you're being bombarded. You're talking about the abundance of information and news now. That's got to be a big contributing factor to it. I don't pay attention to the news very much. I mean, there's a lot of gossip around here about what's going on here and there in the world, but I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But I can do something about what's going on in my house,
Yeah.
and what's going on around me, and the people that I feel like aren't supporting that. I just don't, me personally, I just don't have them in my bubble, And I think that's what we need to do. Everybody needs to do. Find the people that do you good and support you as a human being, not necessarily a monetary thing, support system, but people that share the same beliefs and stuff. I think it's important to surround yourself with those folks so you can be an influence on people outside that.
Yeah.
It says biblically to work hard with your hands and live a quiet life so you'll gain the respect of the outside world. That's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I probably don't do the best job of that, but I do live a very simple, peaceful life, and I like that. And it seems like you do too. You seem like you like music and you love God, and you come to work, and you do a lot of other things too, though, right? Don't you do some translating for?
Yeah, I do interpret.
Talk about that a little bit, because you speak a lot of different languages, right?
Yeah, I do, and it's crazy. When I got into it, I was like, oh, I speak Spanish, and then come to find out, there's almost close to like 30 versions of Spanish. And then
so which one do you speak? Or which?
I speak probably, well, I would say I'll call it the neutral one. I could kick into any of those accents. There's ones that are harder. Like there's certain ones that I don't like, the ones that don't roll the R's. I'm like, that's what defines us. They replace the R with the L, so I'm like, I don't like the sound of that.
Right.
So my name would, instead of being Marcos, it'd be like Malcos. That don't sound good. Like that doesn't roll off good. So
I understand.
So when I started in the interpretation at the hospital, I started with an agency, got my certification. And then I started with an agency, which they basically send you where they ever need you.
And what are you talking about with that? You do translating for what?
For a hospital.
Oh, okay. So medical stuff.
Yeah, right? Medical stuff. Okay. Yeah. So because they got their own certification and training you have to go for different fields. So you got for the hospital, then you got court interpretation, all that kind of, because it's different terminologies, different things, and different stuff you have to know. So when I started doing it at the hospital, when I started doing the interpretation, it was like kind of like weird to me, because I was like, what is all these weird accents? Like because like you were talking about earlier, like just the people that I knew in my circle, I just knew like probably 2 versions of Spanish, and then just hearing those what I call cadence and just different rhythms and stuff like that. Because
Sure.
that's what really is, like, just different stuff. Like, oh, that's pretty interesting, and stuff like that, and how people view you and that kind of stuff. But I do what for right now. I'm just doing remote. I'm just doing. I'm not doing it in person and stuff like
Right.
that. But then I try to also kind of get my running going and stuff like that. Try to do that just to kind of connect a little bit with nature, just time for myself, so that I'm not like always like just that type of guy that just work. I mean, housework. I don't
It's
like
easy to
having a
get caught
boring.
up in that.
Yeah.
It's real easy to get. Amy calls it the grind. And it's so easy to get caught up in that because I pretty much come to work and go home, you know. And here lately, I've been trying to make a little extra time to do some stuff that I enjoy because I think
Mhm.
it's important to do that. It's very easy to get disconnected with the things that are important to you as a person when you're caught up, and you got to make a living. You got to pay the bills. We got jobs to do, you know, and there's a lot of people that rely on the store for an income.
Yeah.
And I take that responsibility that was put on me very, very, very seriously. I want everybody to pay their bills and everybody to be happy, and I want all the customers to be satisfied and all that. But there's also you need time to recharge your batteries
Mhm.
sometimes and do something you enjoy,
Yeah.
and I'm making it a point to do that this year. I don't care what anybody says. Of course, I said that last year too, and unfortunately, we lost David
Yeah.
last August, and that put a little bit of a hiatus on my hunting plans last fall. But this year, Lord willing, I'm going to be
Yeah.
in the woods a lot. So Caleb, don't be killing my deer because I'm going to come over and slay a
Right.
couple of them. But as far as your interest outside of music, outside of work, all that kind of stuff, what do you enjoy doing just to cut loose and relax and
Yeah.
recharge your batteries?
Well, I'll divide that into two parts. One is what I like to do, and then two, what I'm planning to do.
Sure.
So I like I said, I like to connect with nature. I like to go to different places. Now that I don't do that very often, maybe I'll
Mm.
do it 2 or 3 times a month and stuff. Like
Well, good
I,
grief. That's
l-
pretty often, man.
I love to travel a lot, so I go up there in Nashville a lot, and now I'm just trying to cut down on just buying a bunch of things. So instead, I'm trying to
Right.
visit places. Just yeah, and we say that a lot, huh? Instead, I just wanna, like, one of the places I want to go is the one you told me about, the
What was that?
Ark.
Yes, you need to
Yeah, and
go.
I need to go there because I think I like that real experience. Because when I read the Bible, like, I get that visual thing, but it's not enough in your head.
Sure.
I think it would be very, very a great experience if I go.
It's really
So,
cool. So the I think the organization over that is over the ARC deal. I think it's called Answers in Genesis is the organization. Kenneth
mm,
Ham, if you've ever heard him speak or teach or
yeah,
anything like that,
yeah,
it's very much about looking through a biblical lens. So the ARC is a really cool thing to go see. It's number one. It's very I told Amy, I said, think about this. Now, this is an ark that we built with modern technology and all this kind of stuff as a visual spectacle,
hmm,
But think about the time that we're living in. This is the first time we can see, and we don't know that it's exactly the way that Noah built his boat as far as aesthetics. Well, I think they have a pretty good idea based
right.
on
The
history and
measurements.
biblical text and measurements and all that stuff. But we don't know for sure, and there's no way of knowing it. And they're not claiming that it is, which I think is a big deal. But think about the times we're living in where you can drive 6 hours from here, in that ballpark, and physically see what Noah's Ark looked like for the
Hmm.
most part. There's not been another time since the first boat was built that you can go see that. I think it's a pretty incredible thing. And as anybody that is, even if you're not a believer in it, it's a very interesting thing to go see. But they also have right up the road from it, I think it's like 30, 40 minutes up the road from that. It works in conjunction, the same organization. It's the Creation Museum. And I got more
Wow.
enjoyment I enjoyed both, but I got more out of the Creation Museum than I did the Ark encounter myself because the Creation Museum is very much about all these different things. They have different exhibits, different rooms for different subject matter. And
Mm,
on this hand, here's the scientific explanation that's taught, in the curriculum in schools and according to science and whatnot. And here's the biblical account of the same thing,
yeah.
and this scientific account seems to change very often. But what God said seems to hold water forever,
Yeah.
if you believe that. So I enjoyed that a lot. And it really helped me look through a biblical lens more frequently, I think.
Yeah.
And I've always tried to do that, but it really put things in a better perspective because it answered a lot of questions. And I was a little skeptical going to the Ark to start with because I'm like, what is this thing? You know, I'm like, is this a tourist attraction? Obviously, it's a business. They need to be able to keep it going and make money. I understand that it's a business, but is this going to be, you know, Christians Disneyland or Six Flags where they're just trying to get people in and get their ticket money and all that stuff? And the very first thing you come to when you come up to the Ark is a sign at the door. And this is not word for word, but it pretty much says, look, this is our best representation of the way things were. We don't know for sure. The things that we do know for sure through our lens is the stuff we find in scripture. All that's going to be written in one color. Everything else is based on research from historical evidence, all that, and all those types of things. We're going to write that in that color, not to get the two confused. Yeah. And that made me feel a lot better about it because they're not saying, well, this is the way it was. Well, we all know that I wasn't around back then. You weren't around back then, so we don't know for sure. Yeah. But the things we do know for sure is what the Bible teaches, and that's written in one color, and all the other, I don't want to say speculation, but research, because there's been a lot of really smart guys and gals work on this kind of thing. A lot of smart people have taken the time to research the historical accounts of the way shipbuilding was done and the way that the culture was during that time period and stuff such as that. So really cool. You need to go.
Yeah.
Make it a point, make it a priority to go.
Yeah, definitely. And what you said about history, that's another thing you were asking me what I like to do in my free time. Love to go to the library. Okay. I can't get enough of the library. I love to study and research. I study in both. I research in both ways. I study in the computer and I study in books. I can't get away from books, but I love educational self-improvement books and stuff like that. I feel like the more, it's kind of like one of those things that my teacher taught me. It's like the more I study, the more I find out how little I know. So it's very deep. I like knowing those things, especially what I call this like modern world that we live in. One of my main concern is like AI. You know, that's another
it's
subject.
Spooky. You know? We talked about with John too. Yeah. We were talking about it a little bit more how it relates to music, but in general, it's a spooky thing, man, because it's the sum of all of our minds added up into one hive mind thing. We're all just leaves on a tree, right?
So there was like two sides on this. There's so many, but there's two talking about AI futuristic. There's two guys and two takes on it, and then they were saying one guy said that he thinks that AI is going to take over. That's one extremist way to think about it. And then another guy's like, well, if we control it and we do this more, because it's technically, AI is technically trying to be a replica of the human brain. That's how they went under that. So then I was listening to this other guy. People should check it out. This is not a shout out, but people should check it out. He's a TED talker, and he was saying that it's kind of like a combination, that the real thing is kind of like a combination of those two thoughts. You know what I mean? It's like somewhere in the middle, because we are very intelligent being. And I saw in the news the other day, the danger of it, and they've done replicas, and they've shown telling the AI to take orders. And I think it was like 80% of the time it bypassed the order. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. So that's kind of like a proof,
a free will type thing.
Exactly. That's kind of a proof that that's kind of a proof that it can get to that point if we don't do something about it.
I think it's too late. I really do. I really do think it's too late.
Got a point. Yeah.
It's just like anything else. Human nature, because we're all living in a fallen creation, right? We're going to learn how to weaponize it and use it for bad. It can be used for good. You know, it can be used in a lot of ways, but we're going to figure out how to do.
But the worst
to do it the wrong way.
But the worst thing is, it's not even just that. I think the worst thing, like we were saying earlier, is if it gets out of hand and we can't manage it. So now it's almost like that movie. It's like AI versus humans. I'm not saying we're going there, but it's a huge, like it's a possibility.
I think it's a great tool that just like anything else. I think a book is a great piece of technology. You've taken information from somebody and written it down in a book, and we can gain that information from reading it. It's that times a trillion, pretty much. It's an unlimited book with an unlimited amount of pages, is what it seems like to me. And that can be very beneficial, but it can also, I mean, already, as far as the arts go, graphic designers are out of business. They're going to be if they're not already, because it can do anything that a human being can do quicker and better, and if you don't like it, no big deal. Just do it again. And as far as music goes, man, it can write a pretty decent song like that, as far as lyrics and stuff like that, even melodies and stuff. There's apps we were playing with the other day that you tell it to write a song in whatever genre you want, and it produces it instantly.
What I'm curious about while you're on that subject, it's like, so the biggest thing we've talked about in the history of music, in the history of all music, whether it's gospel or not, it's soul, right? It's soul. And that's one thing that I don't think it can replicate. I think it can take orders. It can tell you, it will give you that genre like we were doing the other day, and say make a song about Josh and all that stuff, and that. But I think human's experience on Earth, it can't do that, because it's not a human. It didn't have it did have a beginning, but it was an instant beginning. It was not a process beginning.
I agree with you completely there. But the difference is people don't care. People just accept what's ever put in front of them.
People are probably, like you said, I think they kind of accepted part of where we're going, because if we're superficial and we live in this world that is already super, because a lot of people, that's another thing, like that's another thing I forgot to tell you. I'm trying to really discipline and put my phone far away from me as soon as I get home, or in a different room. Like they were saying, I don't really get other important things that I gotta worry about. So that's another danger, like that people don't see that. Like what are we really? Okay, I pay this phone, I pay this bill, but am I a slave of this thing? You know what I mean?
The answer is yes. All of us. We're all addicted to it. Because it does what it does so well. No matter what you're using a phone for, if it's for research, if it's for information and learning, it does it very well. If it's for recreation and entertainment, you can watch anything that you want to as quick as you can type it in, right?
Yeah.
And it works so well that it's hard for folks not to, and people are addicted to that, I think.
Yeah, they were saying that it's like the technology is like, it's almost like 3 or 2 times worse than smoking or anything like that. I was like, what?
I can believe it.
That is crazy, because you think about it. That's like what everything that we have pointed in society as bad. We look at that and that's bad. But then now, like, the thing that hurts me the most, which I preach on a lot about, is like, it's like kids. And I'm not, I mean, it obviously affects all ages, but especially kids and development. And there have been stories on the news, not just saying, like, on the news of kids playing games and then being possessed.
Sure.
And then going to the hospital and all these things. And we look at these things like, oh, that's going to happen. I have him manage them. I have this under, and it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous stuff.
Well, it's just like we were talking about food earlier, and how we have a food problem in America because most of this stuff isn't real food, right? It's processed synthetic stuff, know. It's the same thing. Everything that you put into your body affects who you are, and your spirit and your psyche and your mind. And your physicality. You eat bad food, you're gonna get sick and fat. I'm fat, I've not eat the best food all the time in my life. I'm a big
natural food though.
Well, a lot of it, not all of it, But I do 80%. Try, especially these days. But everything you put in front of your eyes, that affects you, whether you say it's going to or not, And the things that you put into your ears, it affects your mind. You start hanging out with a bunch of folks that cuss a lot. Well, next thing you know, you're gonna have the notion to partake in the festivities, if you get in the habit of watching stuff that's probably not the best stuff to watch, it can grab a hold of you too. So that's my big thing with music, is because I don't like most music just personally. And I'm a very big acoustic music guy because I believe it's the most simple form of, here's a guitar. Direct. The sound you get out of it is completely dependent upon you and your abilities. We're not relying. Sorry, I keep scratching my forehead. I feel like I'm about to fall apart. it's completely reliant upon you and your capabilities. It's a piece of wood that somebody crafted, and I appreciate the craftsmanship and the art form that is too. But you're not relying upon amplifiers and pedals and effects and capacitors and resistors and potentiometers and wires and electricity to make your sound. Because what's the difference in that, to me, relying on all those electronic devices to produce your music and using AI?
I feel like it's a lot of, because I'm a big fan of acoustic too, but I feel like it's like the more stuff you add into it, it's like more makeups, and and you kind of go a little bit farther from your original sound.
Sure.
And if we look at that back in the history, I mean, everything started like that, and of course we could probably say there's a purpose behind all this, but if we're not, for me, I always tell all my students that the instrument is you. I tell my students that, because when you think about it, and then my teacher will say like the piano, whatever instrument it is, like he said, it's an extension of you. So when we see it like that, then we don't have, we might say we do have multiple personalities, but people don't have like 5 to 6 personalities, like where they're switching, like today I'm me and I'm nice, and then the next day I'm like so. And I'm not talking about moods. That's a different thing.
That sounds a lot like me. That sounds a lot like me and my moods.
Mood swings and such. But I mean, like one day you can be like, you seem like just a completely different person,
right.
And that's the thing that we were talking about music earlier. Like a lot of people don't ever find their voice like that, because they think that their tone, but that's another thing. Tone and their voice is gonna come because I'm gonna get the latest overdrive.
Sure.
Or the one.
And if you're going to get one, come here to the store and get one, because we can help you find it.
Right.
The Gettin In Tune podcast is always brought to you by Donleys Music, proudly serving the North Georgia area for over 30 years. Located in Hickory Flat, Georgia, Donleys Music was founded by David Donley with this simple mission in mind: serve the community. And for decades, that's exactly what we've been doing. We specialize in music lessons. We've been voted best music lesson program by our community for well over a decade. Whether you're picking up an instrument for the very first time or refining your craft, our team of passionate and award-winning instructors will be glad to help you reach that next level. Need a repair? No problem. We've got you covered. From basic setups to complex restorations, our master luthier, Dan Atchison, brings over 50 years of experience to every job. We also buy, sell, and trade new, used, and vintage instruments, gear, and accessories. Guitars, amps, banjos, drums, pedals, picks, you name it, we probably got it, or we can at least help you find it. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop with what's going on around the shop, and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel for exclusive content, the Gettin In Tune podcast, and much, much more. Visit us at www.donleysmusic.com, that's DONLEYSMUSIC.com, or swing by the store and see why generations of musicians have trusted Donleys Music. Donleys Music, helping make music great again since 1994.
And like you said, and that's a good point you're talking about. That's all the other things I always ask people when they say I'm looking for this. What are you trying to do?
Right.
What type of music, and this and this and that. And people always like, I want this tone. It's fine if you want that tone, but don't get the tone to replicate, to become Eric Johnson, to become this guy. Get that tone as part of your painting again, to become you. I mean, you're already you, but to become you, musically speaking,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have lots of guitars in the store, ranging at all prices, from entry level to really high end stuff. We try to keep in the shop, and no matter which one I pick up and play, it sounds like me playing it. You know what I mean?
Nice, yep.
And it's a matter of opinion which one sounds better.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a certain sound that I'm kind of have in my head, and I gravitate towards certain things because I feel like it speaks what I need it to speak better than other things. And I have opinions on, all those things. But at the end of the day, you're going to sound like you.
Yeah.
So don't try to sound like anybody else.
I think people try to put money on tone. What I mean by that is like people saying, well, this is more expensive, so therefore it's going to be a better tone.
Right. So we did a video on that.
Oh yeah.
All right. More money equals better tone.
Yeah.
A lot of times it can, but it's really dependent on the person doing it.
Yeah.
If I hand a $10,000 instrument to somebody off the street, it's not going to sound worth a hoot if they don't know how to play one. Right. So it's not the instrument, it's the person doing the input to the instrument. So I guess there's a blurry line for me between all the electric stuff, and I'm not. If you want to play electric guitar, play electric guitar. Who cares? It's just not my personal thing, because you're relying upon so many electronic gizmos for your sound. Well, what's the difference between that and AI?
Well, the thing is, and I guess what I'm trying to do, based on the point that you're talking about, what I'm trying to kind of do when you're talking about acoustic and the question you just asked, like I'm just trying to meet my favorite electric guitars are those that are kind of lie in between, that is not too far, which in my opinion is the Telecaster.
It's the simplest form of an electric guitar.
Right. A Telecaster or a semi-hollow body guitar. Okay. That's me. And I wouldn't go too crazy, too far away based on the music that I like to play. And like I was saying earlier, I don't like too much modification. I don't like too much sounding like that it's going to sound like really too far away. Like I want like kind of like a similar thing on like the acoustic, whatever sound that I'm thinking in my head, that's the sound that I want it to come out. So that's kind of the basis I use. If I'm not getting that out of a guitar, I'm like, okay, it looks nice, it's got a tone, but it's not my tone.
Right, you know? Right. That's interesting, man. Super interesting. So if you had, and I don't want you to paint yourself in a corner, but if you had to call yourself a blank player, you had to pick one instrument, which one would it be? My name is Marcos. I play music. Well, what do you play? And you have to tell them one instrument.
Oh.
What do you feel like you're the most proficient, the one that you feel like you can express yourself the best on?
I think I've really got a tie between guitar and piano, but
you gotta flip a coin, man.
I think I'm gonna go with guitar because it's just the vibration and the closeness of it, and it's close to your body and the vibration. I think I'm gonna have to go with guitar.
Okay, very good. Yeah. So you've been doing a lot of teaching for how long? You been teaching here at the store? I can't keep up with that. Pretty good while.
Yeah, almost going to 4, but it's 3
or 4 years. Yeah. And you've got some, out of all the instructors that I've dealt with over the years, you have some very unique teaching techniques, I guess you will. Yeah. My wife took piano lessons with you, and she's like, Marcos told me I need to get some gloves. I'm like, what in the world do you need gloves for to play a piano?
Well, I think you really have to be in tune with yourself, and I've done gloves, I've done other things, bags. The sensitive for me, because that's why I chose guitar. Because guitar, you don't need any extra stuff to feel the guitar, to feel it, because it's under your fingertips. But playing the piano, it's like this. So that's odd. And I don't know if you've ever played the piano just for whatever, but it's odd feeling that. For me, it's but when you become sensitive, you put something on or something very thin, you become more sensitive and you don't do any extra motions. So that's the thing always for me, to be sensitive to the instrument so that you can go from a loud to soft to fortissimo to pianissimo. So like you can, it's night and day.
Like go to what? What are you doing?
Go from loud to soft. So you want to be able to like kind of those Beethoven stuff, like da 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 da, and then just be able to do those transition like that on the fly, and not say like, oh, that's hard of it. So it's trying to just so that's why I have like, but I'm always exploring it. That's why I said I do the research earlier, because I'm always I'm adapting to the student. Yes, I am a teacher, but I'm adapting to the student, and I'm trying to figure the student out. So
you're a teacher and a student all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And we all talk about, is Marcos here? He's down there practicing. I don't know anybody that practices as much as you and studies as much as you. And it shows, man. You're a great player at everything you do, and you're one of the most intelligent people that I talk to on a daily basis, and that's cool, man. I appreciate everything that you do with that. So a lot of times we'll hear you back here in a piano lesson or something, and we'll hear shouting and yelling and hollering and laughing, and I'm like, man, I want to go take lessons with Marcos. It sounds like a hoot.
We gotta make it sound alive, because music is music is through us. And I think like one of the things that's so disappointing for me is to see a student who's kind of hunchback and just shy, and they're like, well, you're playing this music, and you came into the store to take lessons to be a great piano player. And I don't, my teacher used to say this, and I use this a lot. It's like, he would always say that he said you're always performing.
Sure.
And if you view it like that, then you don't wait for spotlight, you don't wait for people, you don't wait for people to watch it. You're always like giving your best. And they would give me things like when I was taking trumpet lesson, he'd be like, when I mess up, I'd be like, let me try that again. He's like, no, don't try it. I'm like, huh? And he'd be like, do it. When you try things, you don't have a high rate of success because you said, I'm gonna try it and see how you just go for it, do it. I'm like, okay. And then so a lot of that,
have the confidence to say I'm going to do it, and
yeah,
and it's going to happen. Yeah, that's something I lack. I try a lot of stuff and it doesn't pan out really well most of the time, musically. But it's very interesting, your perspective compared to other folks we've talked to. Like, with John, he's got a very unique perspective on it too, and that's the whole point. I think what we're doing here is kind of peeling back the onion and the layers to all these interesting folks. And I feel like we could probably do a whole nother. We'll have you back. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So
yeah.
we'll start wrapping it up. Something that I'm doing with everybody towards the end of this. I got a few little things here.
Rapid questions.
This is our rapid fire.
Love that.
All right, this is going to be fun. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the goal of this is I'm going to read you a question that I've come up with. It's just for fun, really, but it helps folks know you a little better and get you thinking a little bit. I want to ask you a question. I want you to give me your immediate right then.
First thought.
What's your first thought? Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Here, take a deep breath. It's going to get rough. Ready? Here we go. What's your favorite food?
Steak.
All right. What's your favorite color?
White.
Okay. Acoustic or electric?
Acoustic.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl, definitely.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Oof, all day.
How do you like your steak cooked?
Medium.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
You prefer the mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Favorite movie of all time?
10 Commandments.
Okay. Go-to gas station snack?
Racetrack. Donuts. Sorry.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Someone is maybe not paying attention.
Okay.
They're talking to you, but they're not paying attention.
Okay. What's your most used emoji?
Smiley face. That's me in person.
Surely not, right? What's your favorite season of the year?
You're not gonna like me. It's summer.
Boo. If you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what would you be doing?
I'd be probably a full-time minister.
Very good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite day of the week?
Monday, because fresh start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Okay. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
What skill do you not have but wish that you did? Rapid fire, Marcos.
Speak 10 languages.
How many do you speak now?
4.5.
You're almost there, man. You're almost there. If you could jam with any musician, living or dead, who would it be?
Love that one. Oscar Peterson.
Do you think there are more wheels or windows in the world?
Oh, wheels, definitely.
You think so?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
What makes you think that?
Well, there's so many. I mean, you got cars everywhere now.
Yeah. Well, so a car has 4 wheels and 6 windows.
Well, that's true, but maybe you're thinking about the windows. Like in America, there's a lot of places in the world that it's not a high society, so they don't have many houses. So I'm thinking about a worldwide kind of thing, but I don't know. It's not.
Well, if they don't have many houses, they probably don't have a lot of cars either.
Oh yeah, hey, you got me back on that.
It's an interesting question. We've been arguing about a lot around the shop. It's one of those stupid internet questions that come up.
Yeah. And
you can talk yourself in and out of either one, because we're thinking about car wheels, but what about like other wheels, like a Hot Wheel car? It has 4 wheels. What about a steering wheel in a car? What about a flywheel on a car? What about rollers on a drawer? What about wheels on the bottom of an amplifier?
We don't want to give AI the credit, but if we were to search this, I'm not right now, but if we were to search this up, we'd probably get an answer. But it's better to.
What does AI know, man? They don't know nothing. All right, buddy. What's your Mount Rushmore of musicians?
Okay, singing, Aretha Franklin, Piano, Art Tatum. I don't know if some people know him.
Hmm.
Um, when he plays, it sounds like it's two people playing. And guitar, Tel Farlow. Um, that's three, right? Okay,
Yeah,
one
it's
more.
three. One more.
Nobody probably would know this one, but he's Hispanic. He's a worship leader. But when he minister, it's like it's he sings and he minister like if he's like in front of Jesus. He just like he forgets that there's a crowd there. And like I imagine that's what he did.
Sure.
He's dead now, but he just worships and he's just like he talks about the heart of God, talks about being in his presence and honoring God. And it's just so deep that that's how I visualize, that's how I see worship. It's not a
Yes, sir.
performing, go back to what it's what flows,
Right.
it's like right now you're here and your wife is at the shop.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
working. She
she's
better
working,
be.
it's not like everything is mostly everything when it comes to you guys coming home. It's improvised. It's not like, oh, we're gonna do this with it. So
Sure.
I feel like that's how worship should be with God. It's like you're there and you're acknowledging that moment, that special moment, and you're in His presence. And I don't think you can necessarily plan that.
Right.
Because you're like maybe He's gonna comfort you, maybe He's gonna say something to you,
Sure.
depending what you're going through in that moment. So that's
Yeah.
why I love Him.
Yeah, God don't follow your script. We're supposed to be following His, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of the way that goes. Any advice that you could give somebody aspiring to play music that maybe you wish you would have known early on?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this right here, and I've told my student this. I used to think that taking lessons, and this is not a shout out. I'm really saying
Mhm.
this at the bottom of my heart. Um, I used to think that taking lessons was not necessary.
Mhm.
This my earlier years. Um, I don't think I was a natural musician. People see me now and think that I am a natural musician,
Mhm.
but according to studies, only 2% of players or is talent, and the rest is discipline.
Sure.
So what I will tell you, if you have a chance to, whether it's a music store or a teacher, or have somebody teach you, because you're gonna develop bad habits and bad techniques and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I would definitely don't wait, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this year." I don't do the year resolution thing. I
The New
don't do it.
Year's thing.
Yeah, I don't do it. I try to really to really work hard and tell myself, come on, do it, and
Right.
throughout the years, so I don't have to wait for that fresh start.
Right.
I don't see it like that,
Says
because
the guy that Monday is his favorite day of the week.
yeah, because because if I see it like that, then I'm waiting for a season, and I think that it's up to you to make that season,
Sure.
and so that's what I would say. Just whether it's music or what you have, like, do something about it. Don't just say I have a dream.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people say that I have a dream. Like, if you ask all the people on the streets if they have a dream, I'm pretty sure people have dreams, but how many of those people are actually doing something about it?
That's a
So
good piece of advice, buddy.
yeah.
All right. So, any music out there? Tell folks how to find your worship music. You mentioned it earlier. You said it's on YouTube. Tell everybody where you can find all that stuff.
Yeah. We have a channel for our band. It's called Guiadores del Evangelio, and if
Did you write
anybody
that
if
down?
if anybody wants to follow me, though, on Facebook, my name is Marcos Ramirez on Facebook. And just a quick announcement, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna start like uploading some stuff on of me playing on Facebook.
Yeah, man.
I just if I've always had this idea, but like my advice I said a few minutes ago, I'm gonna start doing it with just playing in nature. That was
Okay.
always one of my dreams, to connect those two things. I love nature.
Mhm.
I love it, and just have a good scenery background, but just have nice music and stuff like that.
Very
So I'm
cool.
gonna upload stuff like that, just to share all the stuff that I love, because I don't know if you notice this about me, but when it comes to public settings, kind of public exposure. I mean, I've like really kept myself.
Sure.
And so many people telling me, it's almost like prophetic. So many people just telling me, hey, you need to put your stuff out there. The world needs to hear your
Don't
stuff.
hide that under a rock, man.
Yeah.
That's what we say in our culture.
Yeah.
Don't hide that gift under a rock.
So when it comes to the gospel, like, or talking about Jesus, I don't mind like doing that. But for some reason, my musical stuff, I just like church and students. That's all the people that get to hear my stuff. But I want to start putting it out there because I have so many musical ideas that it's not new genre, no music that stuff, but just musical ideas are just putting things together in a different way. I was like, okay, I want other people to hear it and stuff like
that. There's so much bad out there. Counteract it with the good. You know?
Yeah.
Put some good stuff out in the world and see if we get some more back. All right, buddy. We make fun all the time because we didn't even get in talking about wrestling. But you have an awesome wrestling Spanish announce voice. Won't you look at that camera out there and tell everybody in YouTube land to subscribe to the Gettin In Tune podcast?
Okay. I'm going to get in
your best wrestling announcing voice.
I'm going to get a different mode. Damas y caballeros. That's me trying to speak like, okay. Quiero que todos los que nos están viendo, le queremos dar la bienvenida oficial a nuestro canal de YouTube, el canal de la tienda de Donleys Music. Tenemos nuevos productos, nuevos anuncios para toda la gente de la comunidad de Kenton. Suscríbete, pone tus comentarios abajito y te vamos a contestar. Que Dios te bendiga.
Yeah, son. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.